I didn't push the button, Rodney. I'm sorry. So yeah, we recommend that people use the buying plan because it is a forecast. So you can use the buying plan, go in there, see if there's something in your industry that's going to possibly come out for bid. And if it's upcoming, that gives you a chance to prepare for it. You can always go on our website to find out who already has the contract, when the contract is going to end, what that person bid the last time. You can even find out how much the contract is worth that they have. I think it was a class last week. We have a class called the website, how to navigate the website. So you can find all that information on the procurement website. And that is a way to prepare yourself, because then you can see what the person before you bidded, so you can have an idea of what you should bid. So I always tell people to sign up for DPS alerts. Make sure you check the buying plan, attend our events. Even if it's the construction summit, depending on what you do, you can help somebody else who's in construction. Even if you do consulting, lawyers, sometimes people are looking for a new lawyer. You never know. They might need IT. They need fence put around construction companies, construction sites. So don't not go to the construction summit because you think you're not in the construction industry. So the vendor fair is for all industries. And we have over 50 different agencies there that can help you in some kind of way. If they don't have a contract, they might have something to help you build your business. So the first thing I always tell people is when they come to these events, your goal is to have a face-to-face meeting with whoever it is you want to do business with. So don't go in to just give them your card. You want to talk. You want to have a conversation, especially if it's somebody you really want to meet with to possibly do work with. We always hear that primes always hire the same subs. Well, they can't hire you if they don't know you. So what you want is to have a face-to-face meeting with these people so that they can get to know you. If you need to call them, if you need to email them, you have to do what you have to do to get in front of somebody that you want to do business with. I always tell people to have a good business card. I go to a lot of events. I get a lot of business cards. And if I see a business card that just says Smith and Company, if I can't tell what you do from the business card is going in the garbage. And I don't have a contract for you. But if you're going out and you're networking with people and they can't tell what you do from your business card, that's not a good business card. You know, we get people now who have all these fancy cards and they're plastic, but it's not telling them what you do. That's not a good business card. The other thing that I highly recommend is having a capability statement. A capability statement could be a one-pager, two-pager, depending on how long you've been in the business or in your business. A capability statement basically says what you do. If you've already done work for other people, you can list those companies down that you've done this work. If you have pictures, put pictures in a capability statement. You can Google capability statement online and it'll show you different types. You might want to be flashy, you might want to just be straight to the point, you might want to use glossy paper, but you want something that people will, when they pick it up, they want to read it. But your capability statement is telling what you do and how you do it. So utilize all of your resources. Like I said, the DPS alerts, the buying plan, workshops. So we're not the only agency that does workshops. So depending on who you want to work with, you might want to check their websites. I also recommend in this building, so we're on the 8th floor, there's another department called Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. They have really great workshops for small businesses, for businesses that just got started or you already started. Some people don't like doing social media. You might, like me, I don't know anything about Twitter, but they have a class for people like me who need to know Twitter. Because if you have a business, the people you're trying to reach are on Twitter, or they're on Facebook, or what other social media might be out now. So they have a class on that. They have a class on how to raise money for your business. They have several different classes that I recommend. There's another agency The Women in Business Development Center, they have really good workshops. They do a really good job. And I know it's called the Women in Business Development Center, but men can go there as well. But they have really good workshops to build your business. And I'm going to say just to build women, period. They have really good classes. So I always say check all your resources, do your research, Google as much information. And I'm even go back to the face-to-face meeting. When you have your face-to-face meeting, you should do all your research before you get in there. So whoever it is that you're meeting with, you should know more about them than they know about you. But you should bring everything they need to know about you. So if they don't know about you, you should have your capability statement, your business card. If it's something that you're supposed to have insurance, you should show that you have insurance to do that work. If you need license, you should be able to show them that you have the correct license. But the most important thing is that you should do your research about that company, because people love to hear about themselves. So if you walk in and tell them, oh, I know you had let's say $10 million in revenue last year. I know you're working on this project. I know you work. They want to hear that you know about them before you even get there. So you should prepare yourself. I forgot this was fancy, this PowerPoint. So, sister agencies. I always tell people don't stop with the city of Chicago. So if you're looking for contracts, the city of Chicago has contracts, but all these other agencies have contracts. People get confused sometimes and think that the Chicago Public Schools, the Park District, and CTA is under the city of Chicago umbrella. It is not. They all have their own procurement process, and it's your job to find out what their procurement process is. So if they say that their bids have to be in by 9 a.m. and the city says 11 a.m., make sure you get your bid in by 9 a.m. Everybody has their own rules and regs. A quick way to always find the contracts for these companies, or these agencies, I should say, if you do www.chicagopublicschools/procurement. So you put /procurement on the end of most of these, it'll take you to their contracts page. As well as we have these agencies on our homepage on the right-hand side at the bottom. So if you go to our homepage, the DPS website, you can click on a link that'll take you to these agencies and their contracts. But you have to learn their process. So if you're trying to get work with anybody else, know their process. I always tell people too, so these are good to search for work, but don't forget about hospitals. Don't forget about the universities. I think we got city colleges on here. City colleges. But people forget that hospitals have diversity programs. Colleges, we have so many colleges in our area, Moraine Valley, St. Xavier. Even though those are private colleges, they still have set-asides. They still have a diversity program. So, you know, people might go to University of Chicago, but don't forget the smaller colleges, the Christian colleges, all those private colleges, they all have contracts. So if you don't pursue them, you won't know anything about them. So don't stay with just this list or the city of Chicago. Most people, any big agency has some kind of contract out there. So it's up to you to do the research to find out what you can do for them. So utilize your assist agencies. So just like I just mentioned, Women in Business Development Center, they are considered an assist agency to us. And we actually have a class now where I believe we highlight assist agencies and they come in and talk. Basically, an assist agency is like a chamber of commerce that might be in your area. Some are better than others, but we do recommend that you talk to an assist agency if you need help with building business or with your certification. So the assist agency list is actually on our website. I don't think we have it out here right now, but the assist agency list is on our website. It's over 15 different agencies that you can go to, and they're all across Chicago. So the list that we have is all over. So read instructions carefully. And I want to go back to one thing too. Now that, are all of you newly certified? Yes. The most important thing though is to remember to do your no change affidavit. Okay. If you don't do your no change affidavit, when you got your, if you're MBE, WBE certified, when you received your letter, it gives you the dates that your no change affidavit is due. Try not to miss those dates, and if you can, try to send the no change affidavit in 2 months ahead, because that gives us a chance to process it and approve it, because if you're on a contract, you don't want your letter to expire. So we get people all the time, I can say it till I'm blue in the face, make sure you submit it, then they submit it late, then they want us to rush. But I can't rush to do yours when she sent hers in 60 days ahead. So you can't call us at the last minute and say, hey, I turned it in last week, when am I going to get it back? Try to turn it in at least 60 days ahead of time. If you're in construction, we need a P&W. All the documents have to be submitted when it's due. If not, you're going to get an RFI, and that's going to take longer. If you don't submit the no change affidavit, you might get a letter saying that you're preliminarily denied or removed because you didn't submit the no change affidavit. So you have to keep up with those dates. We do not send out anything to remind you. With the DBE application, you get a new letter every year. Is anybody here DBE certified? No? So you got DBE? No. Okay, so DBE is a federal program. It's free, so if anybody wants to consider being DBE certified, and that's a disadvantaged business enterprise certification. Most of the work that goes on at the airport is federally funded, and that's when you have to be the DBE, or if you want to have a concession at the airport, you have to be ACDBE, which is Airport Concession Disadvantaged Enterprise certification. We have a totally different workshop for DBE and ACDBE, and that application is free. Okay. So if you plan on bidding, even if it's with us or someone else, read instructions carefully. So we understand that government solicitations for bids, proposals, and qualifications contain a lot of information and may have mandatory forms to complete. However, non-responsive bids must be rejected. Rejected bids increase the cost of work to the city and may result in your firm not getting the contract. So has anybody seen one of our bids? Has anybody looked at a bid that has come through with the city yet? So this is the bid and bond room that we're sitting in. And most of the time when a bid comes out, you pick up the specs from this office, and everything has to be returned to this office. So there's a lot of documents that I usually ask for when you're trying to bid. It's up to you to make sure you have all the correct information submitted, because if you didn't calculate something right, you could be disqualified. If you didn't sign something somewhere, if you didn't notarize something, those could all be reasons for us not to even consider your bid. You could be the best person out there, you could be the lowest bid, but you didn't calculate something right, and we take it out because you didn't follow all the rules and regs. So that's one of the most important things. Another thing is making sure you bring it in on time. So if there's an 11 o'clock cutoff, the lady that's over this room is not going to take your bid if you got here at 11:05. So make sure you follow all the rules. And this goes back to as well, if you're about to bid on something, to check the last contract. So that's your homework. If you're about to bid on something, you need to go see the last contract to see what they bidded on and see what the specs were and see how they did it, because that helps you when you're ready to do your bid. Okay. Have all your facts right. The telephone number and email address of the procurement staff assigned to your solicitation is listed in the bid opportunity list. Always refer to this person with questions. So the procurement staff is here on the 8th floor. They can take your call, and it is listed in the bid opportunity list. They can't answer all your questions, but they can try to answer as many questions as possible. Of course, some questions are going to be, that's too much information to give. But if you have questions, it's okay to call and ask for help, just like it's always okay to ask for help with the certification application. So if you have a question before you bid, you should ask that question. Usually with a construction, they have a pre-bid meeting. So anything with construction, they have a pre-bid. That means all the people who are going to bid usually come to that meeting. Another thing I tell people to take advantage of, we have a bid takeout list, and that list is online. So everybody who's going to bid on a contract, when they pick it up, they have to leave a business card. We put that takeout list on our website. So you can see everybody who's going to bid on that contract. So you do cleaning, right? Cleaning services. So if it was a cleaning contract and everybody else in here was a cleaning company, you could see online everybody who picked up that bid. So you can see who your competition is. You can't see their bid, but you can see who the competition is. So say you go to that bid takeout list and you're just like, oh, these companies are bigger than me. They might win. What's the next thing you do? You might want to call them up and ask them, can you collaborate with them? Or is it something that you can provide with them? You know, it always helps, especially in construction. So if you're in the pre-bid meeting and you see all the companies in there, you might not be able to bid by yourself, but then you can see how you could get in contact with these people to say, I see that you might bid on such and such. Maybe I can do your IT work, or I can do your personnel work, or I can put the fence up. You know, that's part of the networking. But that pre-bid meeting and the bid takeout list, and the bid takeout list is on our website. You can always go and click on it and see who took that bid, and you can call them. That's why we do the bid takeout list. Everything is transparent, so you can see who your competition is or who you might want to collaborate with. Make sure you know when the solicitation is due. The date and time is important. Missing information can disqualify your bid. A missing signature, a math error, or the failure to complete all documents can be cause for a rejected bid. So that's why I always say do all your homework. If you need help before you even submit a bid, that's when you can go to an assist agency to find out if they can help you fill out the bid information. Okay? Be familiar with ordinances. We have a lot of ordinances. I think the handout, no, it's not. We have a handout for all the ordinances. So ordinances are written, and our commissioner is big on writing ordinances to help small businesses grow. So the Small Business Initiative, the Diversity Credit Program, these are all ordinances that give you some credit when you're ready to do a bid. Another one is like the mentor protege, that's construction. So if you decide, if you were doing construction and you wanted to be a mentor to a smaller company, then you would have a protege, and you're teaching them the business. Then you decide to actually use them on your contract as a sub, then that prime contractor gets credit for using you on their contract. But you have to have the mentor-protege relationship approved by our department. But that's one of our ordinances. So on the next, I think I went too far. Okay. So there's a handout that looks like this, programs and incentives. And this is on our website as well. All of these documents are on our website. Local manufacturing, local business preference, phased graduation ordinance, that's for certification. So now we have a program where so when you all get to $38 million in revenue, because I know it's going to happen. When all of you get to $38 million, you will not be kicked out the program. So we phase people out the program depending on their gross receipts. So years ago, if you got to $38 million, you were just out. So now it's you go 75%, 50%, 25%. And trust me, we have people fight once they get to $38 million. They do not want to be thrown out the program. I would be happy to make $38 million. I wouldn't fight anybody if I was at $38 million, okay? But once they get there, they don't want to be kicked out the program because then they're no longer considered a sub. Once you get to that dollar amount, you're a prime. But it's okay to be a prime because then you hiring other companies to come work for you. So that's one of the ordinances is the phased graduation ordinance. So I tell people to go over these. We have a workshop for this as well. If you need more information about the ordinances and incentives, you can come to that workshop and they go into more detail. The one I do like this next one as well is the project area residents. The total hours worked by persons on the site of construction project by employees of the contractor and or subcontractor shall be performed by at least 50% of the residents, by residents of that area. So if you see a big construction job in your neighborhood, they're supposed to hire people from the neighborhood. The alternatively powered vehicles, if you buy green vehicles or what is it, electric now, where you have to plug them in, you get credit for having those type of vehicles. I know those cars are a little bit more expensive than a regular car, but if you use that car, you're helping the environment, and we give you credit for that on your bid. I just talked about phased graduation and the mentor and protege program. So, I guess I'll take questions. Anybody have questions? Nobody has questions?
Yes, do y'all be right there on Austin and Road Development, y'all construction company, y'all workshop right there?
Do we do workshops down there?
Yeah, on Austin right there.
No. You see an office down there?
No, there was a lot of contracts out there a few months ago, and they were doing bids for different that, and they were showing people how the workshop goes.
They were actually doing a workshop? Were they doing a workshop? Oh, that was the vendor fair. Yeah, so that was our vendor fair, and they did workshops during the vendor fair. Yes, and then some of those workshops were city workshops, and I think they had some other agencies doing workshops. Yeah, so that's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying that you should attend the vendor fair, because the vendor fair gets bigger and bigger every year. So yeah, that was at UIC Forum.
I would like to know, like the upcoming construction building high-rises, how are you?
Private buildings have nothing to do with the city.
Oh, okay.
So if it's not a city building, those are developers. So you'd have to find a developer. And usually the names are out there. If it's a construction site, you have to look for the names, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. Look for the construction name, do some research, find out who owns the development company. But we do like the police stations, and CPS does the schools, and then we have an agency called the Public Building Commission. They do a lot of the building for city buildings. You know what I mean? So we have over 30 city departments, and employees are throughout the city, so not everybody's in City Hall. So if they build something, then that's a city project. The streets, that's CDOT or Streets and Sands, so that's our work. Those planters in the middle of, are they down LaSalle? Yeah, we got planters on LaSalle, that's the city. But if it's a private building, you have to go to the private developer who's building the building.
Okay, I just have a question. Do you have a plan like to host a certain meeting which is like to meet all your primary contractors?
To meet the primes, they did that at the vendor fair, didn't they? The vendor fair was in May, and they had a room with the primes, and it was a meet and greet for the primes and the subs. So they did do that at the vendor fair. But other people do it too. So that's why I said you have to go to all of these websites. Okay. Right. Well, they do a lot of task orders for IT as well. So sometimes if it's a task order, only a minority company can bid. So you have to look for those in the DPS alerts. So when a task order goes out for IT, it's in the DPS alert, and only minority companies can bid. So that's what you need to look for. But you do IT? Yeah, so you need to look for those type of task orders, because then it makes the pool smaller. You tried to contact them?
Especially like CW, I know they host the CBS big contract.
Mm-hmm. Did you get in contact with them?
I sent them without getting response.
You got to keep trying.
The person's name on the CBS website.
Yeah.
When they have a contract,
Yes.
they also sign a contract.
Yes.
Maybe
Okay.
it's too hard. I don't know.
Right, right. Well, that's where the research goes, and
Guys are really probably stand out and reciprocate.
right. I want to say another agency that does a lot of good events and is coming up is the airport. And depending on what you do, the airport has a lot of work that's about to, it's probably already started. I don't know why I say about to start, but they have a lot of construction going on at the airport. They're trying to find new concessions at the airport. They want people who have new ideas for concessions to be at the airport. So they have a lot of contracts that are coming out soon. They do events, and aviation does their events at UIC Forum as well. They have a separate website. I think it's called Fly Chicago. I can't remember if it's .com or .org. But if you go to flychicago.com, they give events and they talk about their contracts, and they usually always have their primes. So at the airport, they do bring the primes out so that subs can meet with the primes and find out what jobs they possibly could work with at the airport. So depending on what you do, and if you already qualify for MBE, you already have all that paperwork together that you all gathered for the MBE, just go ahead and certify as DBE. It's not automatic. DBE is for DBE. It's for DBE. It's for federal work. So federal contracts usually want you to have the DBE. BEPD is a state certification. Most federal contracts will not recognize BEPD. You have to have the D.
The DDE, like if I'm applying for it, or do it in the same website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's the exact same website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question is like, to be a CPA vendor, since I'm already in that website, is it automatic that I'm a CPA vendor, or I have to apply for?
CTA, so CTA is another federal program. So usually they want you to have the D.
Yeah, but I just went to this luncheon.
Uh-huh.
You can apply like to be a vendor straight away, and then just apply for the DD.
So they have a vendor list, and I don't know the qualifications. So some agencies do vendor lists, whether you just register yourself on their site and let them know what you do. We don't do that. The city of Chicago does not have a vendor list. So if the CTA is saying they have a vendor list that you can get on, I would get on it. But you still need the DBE to actually work on a contract. CTA is pretty much federally funded, so it helps to have the DBE. Disadvantaged business enterprise.
I have a question. I just became WBE and the NCAI code.
Next codes.
If I wanted to add a couple more codes.
Very good question. I need to add that to my presentation. So once you get certified, if you want to expand your codes, it's an expansion request. You go back into the system just like you did for the MBE, WBE. You can expand your codes. You just have to be able to prove that you can do those codes. So if you, the example I always use, if you are a painter and you got the painting next codes, but now you want to do drywall, you have to be able to prove you can do drywall. Did you go buy the supplies? Do you have drywall somewhere? Have you already done drywall? Do you have a contract to do drywall? You have to submit all those documents. So it would be considered an expansion, or you could do it when you do your no change affidavit or your research. But you just have to let us know that you're requesting more codes. But you have to be able to prove those codes. So I always tell people, especially at small companies, if you do something for someone, always put it in writing. Whatever you put in writing is a contract. It doesn't have to be 5 and 10 pages. As long as you sign it and the other person sign it, that's a binding contract. That's to cover you, period. For you legally, everything should be in writing. If you paint something for your mother and she paid you $50, she might not have paid you $50, but put it in writing because you can use that to say that's a contract. That's proof to us that you did it for somebody and they agreed to pay you whatever they agreed to pay you, and this is my contract. So always have everything in writing. But you need that when you're ready to do an expansion because we need proof that you can do it. So even with IT, if you decide to expand what you do for IT and you want to do an expansion, make sure you have everything you need to prove that you can do those new codes. Okay. Yes. So you can submit an expansion request anytime. Yeah, but you could do it anytime in between, or you can do it with your NCA or your research. And you have to remember that if you change anything in the year, if the year isn't up, if you change your address, we need to know about it. If you change your phone number, especially if you change ownership. If you were partners with somebody and they leave and now you're 100% owner, we need to know that. So don't wait for your no change affidavit to be due. You need to submit that information to us right away. Any changes need to be submitted. Online, yeah, it can be done online. Yep. But the biggest thing is ownership change, because we need to know if your company is still qualified to be certified once you do that ownership change. So yes, you can do that anytime it happens, and you can do an expansion anytime it happens. And if you're on a contract and we're in the middle of doing your no change affidavit or we're in the middle of doing your research, we can give you an extension letter, which just means that we give you a letter saying that we're still working on your certification, but you are still certified until we complete the process. So if your no change affidavit is due August 1st and you submitted it today, but you're on a contract, we can give you an extension letter to make sure that you can still work on that contract. And I will say, always check your letters. I do these audits. I just left my desk from somebody saying they didn't have all their codes on their letters. So we do make mistakes. We are human. Sometimes numbers get transposed in the typing process. If you have been certified for so long, sometimes your codes might not be right. If something is not right, when you get that letter, you need to let us know right away so that we can make the correction. It's kind of hard for us to want to really make the correction if 4 years have passed and then you say, hey, 4 years ago I had such and such. Well, we were like, well, you had the letter for 4 years. Okay, so when you get your letter, immediately check to make sure everything is correct. Is your address correct? Is your name correct? And are your NAICS codes correct? Okay. No other questions? But I can't stress enough to market yourself, especially as a small business. If you got to keep calling and keep calling, keep calling. And think outside the box. You got to think outside the box on who to contact to find out who you could do contracts with. And like I said, so you can do a search, just like you're certified. You can go into our search engine for MBEs, WBEs, and find out who else is on the list. It could be small companies. It might be bigger companies. So even though you're certified,
Subject now,
I'm sorry?
they put at the field that you're a subject, whatever I can put the name.
Yes, yes,
Then the whole list,
yes, yes. And we recommend that. So if you're looking for the list of all the IT, and IT is so big, and there's so many different areas of IT. So you might want to put in a specific area to get a specific list. Yes, yes. So, and we recommend that you go to our site and find out who else is certified. If you need to meet with those companies, and then go to our site to find out who already has contracts. So if you know somebody that's already got a city contract, you can contact them. If you know somebody who has a CTA contract or a Chicago Public Schools contract, you can contact them to find out is there any way you can work with them. CHA, Chicago Housing Authority, you need to contact them to find out what's going on with CHA. So all of these places have their own contracts, and it's worth checking. Cook County. Well, Cook County has their own procurement, but the good thing for you now is that you all should know that Cook County accepts our certification. So if you bid on something with Cook County, you can use your city letter. So now our certifications are reciprocal. So once you're certified with the county, the city will accept your letter and vice versa. Now that you all are certified with the city, the county will accept your certification. So you have to get on their list to get their bid opportunities, and then you can use your certification letter to bid on their contracts as well.
So, that letter acts as my vendor number per se, or?
Yeah.
You don't need a vendor number separate from that letter?
Your vendor number is what you get after you get a contract. So if you're trying to bid on something, they need your letter. That's going to be what you need to read in those specs when you're trying to bid on something. So you need to have your letter attached. And I'll say this: if the contract is low enough and you can handle it on your own, you don't have to be certified. So say it's a bid out for $10,000 for consultation on making people come to work on time, and it's only $10,000. You don't need certification. Well, you might not need, I don't think you need it for $10,000 because you say, hey, I can handle this by myself. I don't have to be a sub. So you would bid on it and you wouldn't even need to be certified because the bid is only $10,000. You're not working as a sub. But if it's a $10 million contract for cleaning all the buildings that the city owns, it's $10 million. You only got 10 people, you might need to be a sub. So there's a bigger cleaning company that takes the bid, and you would be a sub, and that prime will give you these 10 buildings over here. And then they'll give another sub these 10 buildings over here. But you got to have that letter to be a sub. If it's only a $20,000 job and you say I can handle it because it's IT and I can do $20,000 worth of IT work alone, you don't need certification.
Should we give other some like diversity? Like for example, if we bid 20,000, should we give another sum?
That's up to you. And it's up to the bid. It depends on what the contract says. Yes. If the contract is only $20,000 and there's no sub requirement, then you don't have to give out the work. If there's a sub requirement on it, then yes. Then you have to find a sub. Mm-hmm.
So big companies really need subcontractors, the majority of them.
Yes, especially if it's a set aside on that contract. If there's a set aside, they have to find a sub. They have to. Now the thing is, like I said, people say big companies use the same subs. That's why you have to get out there and network so that they know what you do and how you do it. And I always tell people, show up on time. If they gave you a meeting, show up on time. Show up professional. Be 10, 15 minutes early. Make sure you have all the documents you need, like I said, to say who you are and prove who you are when you go into that meeting. Okay, that's your first view of you is what they, that's that's very important. That's when you walk in the door. If you walk in 15, 20 minutes late, why would they want to give you a contract? Because you might go on a job and be 20 and 30 minutes late. So it's important to be at that meeting on time, have your resume, have your capability statement. If you have pictures of jobs that you've done, if you have names of companies that you've already worked with, you need to have all of that. Because the primes they work with people that they know. And you want to be somebody that they know. No other questions? So when you all make $38 million and y'all call the office, we're gonna graduate you and just take you out slowly until you come off that $38 million. Look. All right. Good luck to everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you.